Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Ruined Birth Throwaway from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole for running away to give birth? I, 23 female, and my husband, 25 male, have been together for 4 years, married for 2, and we were expecting our first child. My relationship with my mother-in-law was never amazing, but before this, she always kept to herself, and so did I. And for the record, my relationship with my husband's father and brother was always really good. When I got pregnant, I told my husband that I wanted to keep it a secret for at least the 3-month mark because my own mother miscarried 5 times in between my and my younger siblings, so I thought that this fact could affect my pregnancy. And because I remember the heartbreak of my mum losing all those babies, I didn't want my families to feel it. He totally agreed and even said it would be our cool little secret. 2 days after I told him, I got a text from my mother-in-law saying that she knew it was a girl and that it was selfish of me to keep the news of her baby girl away from her and her family. Just for the record, I was around 4 weeks pregnant at that point, so I had no idea about the sex myself, so I don't know where that came from. I confronted my husband, to what he replied, "You were not expecting me to hide this from my mum, right? She deserves to know. It's my child too." I was furious and didn't talk with him for around a week after this. Needless to say, in the week after this incident, everyone already knew I was pregnant, and people were even mad at me for wanting privacy on this. Then the harassment from my mother-in-law started. At around 4 months, me and my husband went to visit my family and left my mother-in-law responsible for watering the plants. When we came back, a whole nursery was made, all pink with the name Olga Bertha painted on the wall. Keep in mind that I had no idea about the gender still, and of course, this was an extreme privacy violation. I had a harsh conversation with her. She cried, and then my husband was mad because I was mean to his mum. But this was just the beginning of the harassment. She was sending me articles every day about the bad effects of working out during pregnancy, criticizing what I had for each meal. Started crying because I want to exclusively breastfeed. She literally said, "Feeding my baby is critical bonding moment, you're stealing that from me." Not wanting visitors for 1 month, and then the delivery room. To sum it up, she wanted to be there. I said no, I only wanted my husband there. She seemed a little hurt, but never talked about that again, until my husband was showering and a message from her popped up. We had a lunch date on that day, so I assumed it was the location and I opened it, just to find hundreds of messages of their plan on how she would get in the delivery room, but I was too tired to argue and see her baby being born. I cried a lot when I was alone, not gonna lie to you guys, but then I made peace with it. On that Monday I told him I was gonna spend some days with my parents, and if something happened, I would tell him. I drove from North Carolina to Florida, where my family is, got into labor, gave birth with my mum and my 2 sisters in the room to a healthy baby boy, without my husband's knowledge. Now to the present. My son is now 2 weeks old, and I finally told my husband what I did. He's driving down here and yelled at me for giving birth without telling him, and for not including him on the birth certificate or name choice, and keeps saying that he and his mum will sue me. Am I the arsehole here for running away to give birth? Edit. It seems to be a lot of comments about the name in the nursery. Olga Bertha was not what was written, but close enough. Olga is the fake version of my mother-in-law's name, and Bertha of my mother-in-law's mother. About the 2 weeks of not telling him, we were not on good terms, just texting, so it was not hard to hide honestly. Edit 2, for the ones criticizing my spelling and punctuation. I'm sorry it's not up to your expectations, but it's the best I can do as a first-time mum that is sleep deprived and gave birth 2 weeks ago. Thank you for your understanding. As with a lot of these types of stories, it's not just the mother-in-law problem, you have a huge husband problem because every single step of the pregnancy he's chosen his mother over his wife. He leaked the pregnancy immediately after agreeing not to. He let his mother turn their house into her fantasy nursery, and then him and his mum were making secret plans to stomp all over your boundaries during the actual delivery, waiting until you're too tired to argue back to be able to come into the delivery room. Absolutely crazy ass shit. A commenter says, "Sounds like you should just stay with your parents. This marriage is over." He's putting his mother over your feelings and is completely unsupportive. And what are they going to sue you for? I hope you took screenshots of the text and planning with his mother. They will come in handy. Substantial Shoe says, "Screenshots of everything because entire chats can be erased from all recipients. Also make a journal of everything that's happened and said. Best of luck and congrats on your son." Commoner says, not the arsehole. You cannot be sued for not letting your mother-in-law or your husband in your delivery room. Do not believe them. Nobody has the right to be in there besides you. You are the only essential part of the process. Even your doctor and midwife need your permission to treat you. Your baby is a resident of Florida by being born there. Take advantage of this. Get legal advice before your husband arrives. You do not have to go back home with him, and you do not have to let him take your baby away from you. Assume your marriage is over. This is a good thing, because your husband is not on your side and only had a baby with you because he couldn't have one with his mother. The emotional incest is deep between them, and he has no interest in stopping it. Your best bet is staying with your family in Florida. Get a lawyer ASAP. Yes, especially since NC has some obnoxious laws about divorce, like you have to live apart for a year before you can file. Do not take the baby back to NC at all. File everything from Florida. Florida is its own level of hattery related to divorce, but at least it's in Florida. You have your family there to assist you. Opie comes in with their update and says, hey guys, first of all, thank you all so much for the messages. Some people asked for an update, and I'm here for it. The last 48 hours were the most insane I've ever had, honestly. So, to go back where we left off, my husband arrived yesterday afternoon. Can you guess who also came? Yeah, his mum. Nothing I was already expecting, but it's always surprising, I guess. When a car pulled up, my mother-in-law was the first to come out. They both got in. My child was in my old bedroom, in my parents' house, with my sister and mother, and in the living room, my brothers, dad, me, and them. The first thing that came out of her mouth was, quit the bullshit, my baby is a girl, right? I said that my baby is a male. My family confirmed. My mother-in-law's face completely changed. She started crying, saying that this one was meant to be a girl, and if she knew I would give her another boy, she wouldn't have been so nice to me. For context, my husband has one brother only, and he is already done having kids. He has 3 boys. I told her to go fuck herself. The child is mine, not hers. I surely didn't have a baby so she could fulfill her weird desires. She was about to raise her voice, but my brother stopped her and told her that it wouldn't be accepted in this house and asked her to leave and wait for my husband in the car. Yes, after she found out the gender, she didn't even ask to see him. She left, giving me dirty looks, but left. My husband looked at me and asked how I could rob this moment from him. As you can imagine, I replied with the plan they had. He turned pale, and then I think it all clicked together in his little brain. He started apologizing, saying that it was just to shush his mum and that he would never actually do it. But after being pressured, his speech changed too. But I'm also going through a lot in the delivery room. I need support. My whole family started laughing in his face. He got angry and demanded to know my son's name and see him. I told him the name and allowed him to see him from afar. He asked to hold him and I declined. After this, I talked alone with him and told him that I wanted a divorce. He cried, pleaded, and asked for another chance. I told him my decision was final and that he didn't have to financially support my child, but that our marriage was over. I asked him to come around the next day so we can discuss this better. Then he came. His eyes were puffy, I'm guessing from crying, and he and his mum came here, looked at my husband and said out loud that he should give me the divorce and forget about this kid since it was a boy. He should find a woman that would give him a girl. Finally, I saw that dude get a little bit of a backbone, and he told her to get out, that she already ruined this enough. She yelled as expected and left. He cried and told me finally understood the kind of harm his mum was making to our family, and told me that if I needed him to go no contact with her to save our marriage, he would. I told him that I needed time to think, and told him to give me some days. He's returning to NC, and in about a week he will come down again so we can talk. Now, I know what he did was horrible, but being a single mum at 23 is not ideal, and whether I like it or not, I still feel something for this man. Any opinions and recommendations are welcome. Maximus says, talk is cheap. Do 1 year of separation, and if this time he steps up massively and keeps his mum cut off, then you can review divorce, and not the arsehole. Mocha says, with couples counseling and individual therapy. Kate says, if you decide to give him another chance, please do not move back to where he lives. If you move back and establish residency there, he can keep you from going back to your parents' house with the baby later on. Right now, since you gave birth in Florida, that's your baby's home state. Stay there. You did a good job of protecting yourself and your baby. Mother-in-law is a horrible person, not the arsehole. He gave you no choice. I'm sorry this is how your PP period has turned out to be. You and baby deserve better. Now, I know this is incredibly difficult for OP and very easy for me to say. Like I always say, I'm just reading a very small part of someone's life, but for me, I'm not sure I'd be able to move past this. The husband only seemed to wake up once he was literally backed into a corner. Mother-in-law's been treating OP bad for some time, making secret delivery room plans and all this kind of stuff, stepping over her boundaries time and time again while he's been running along with it. OP literally had to flee to another state to give birth without him. And I wonder how much OP's actually gone through in the past as well, not just this one situation, because this behavior, I'm damn sure, didn't just appear out of nowhere. People suddenly don't become this entitled and like this overnight because of one pregnancy. There was almost certainly years of maybe subtle control, guilt tripping, boundary issues that have been normalized in the past that he's probably grown up with as well. And if OP is considering going back at all, I would definitely agree with that comment of having a long period of separation and watching his actions if he actually does step up. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from OKLobster6092 from the Off My Chest subreddit, and it says, my younger brother's girlfriend is upset because my older brother ordered the same meal as her at a family dinner, and now there is drama. What? I don't even understand why this is an issue, but the drama and the fallout is getting to me, and I'm tired of hearing about it. My 32 male younger brother Dave, 31 male, has a new girlfriend, Rachel, 30s female. My parents, 54 male and female, already met her once, and they said they would take everyone out for dinner so she could meet the rest of us. Myself and my older brother Steve, 33 male. We didn't go anywhere expensive. My parents just took her to Canadian Brew House. At first everything was fine, but then it got weird when it came time for us to order. After Steve gave his order, mac and cheese, Rachel said, "But I was going to order that." We were all confused because no one said Rachel couldn't also order the mac and cheese. Our server was confused too and told Rachel the kitchen wasn't sold out of mac and cheese, but Rachel said she needed another minute with the menu. She asked Steve twice before the server came back if he was sure about his order. She ended up ordering something different, but for the rest of the night she kept talking about how she wanted to get the mac and cheese. It was really weird. Dave is mad at Steve for not ordering something else to accommodate Rachel and the rest of us for not defending her. I don't even know what he means by that. The rest of the dinner was so awkward because Rachel kept talking about wanting the mac and cheese. My parents picked the restaurant because Dave said Rachel had been there before and liked the food. It was so weird. My dad and I both ordered the same sandwich with a side salad, and there was no problem with us eating the exact same thing, even though Rachel asked us twice if one of us wanted to change our order. I honestly don't get what the issue was or why she was so upset about Steve ordering the same thing as she wanted. I know this is a small thing compared to some of the things that get posted here, but I'm tired of Dave being upset and causing drama over this. I want Steve to apologize to his girlfriend, but obviously Steve says he didn't do anything wrong. I just needed to vent about how sick of Dave making a big deal about this and bothering me and everyone else about how hurt Rachel is. I don't even get why it was a problem. Rachel gave no explanation and neither has Dave. A commenter says, did anyone ask her why she didn't order the mac and cheese? Opie says, she just said it was because someone else already ordered it. She didn't elaborate or explain when asked. She was asked at least once to elaborate before the server returned to finish taking our orders. For the rest of the dinner, we kept trying to change the topic whenever she brought up the mac and cheese because it was so awkward. Now Dave won't give an explanation when anyone asks why this caused such a problem for Rachel, even if he gets asked why. Honestly, I have no idea why this became such a big issue. My dad and I both ate the exact same thing and everything is fine. Another commenter says, what would this girl do if, rather than going out for dinner, parents had invited her to their home for dinner where presumably everyone would be eating the same thing? Her behavior makes no sense whatsoever, and Steve absolutely does not owe her an apology. If she wanted mac and cheese, she should have ordered it. The beauty of going out for dinner is that everyone, including Steve, gets to eat whatever they want. Opie says, my parents met her once before the dinner I wrote about in my post. It was just my parents, Dave and Rachel over at my parents' house. I know my parents made lasagna, and they said they didn't say anything about getting a plate of it from the same pan as my parents and Dave. She ate it and complimented the cooking, so my parents had no idea she had an issue until we were at the restaurant, and she got weird about ordering. Opie responds to a longer thread and says if Dave and Rachel didn't want to order the same thing so they could share, it wouldn't be weird. Same for my parents. It was weird because Rachel didn't want to order the same food as her boyfriend's brother, someone who would not be sharing with her. Even if two people in a relationship wanted to share their meals with each other, the restaurant we were at wasn't the kind where people normally share. Each person got their own separate meal. Rachel and Steve are not dating and had just met each other for the first time. It's also weird because Rachel asked and hinted that Steve should change his order and wouldn't stop talking about it for the rest of the night. She also commented more than once about my dad and I ordering the same thing, even though neither of us was sharing our food. Another commenter says, how is she going to have dinner at home with family? Does she expect an entirely different meal to be served to her on Thanksgiving? She needs help. Opie says, since Thanksgiving is in a week and Dave and Rachel's relationship is new, she isn't spending it with our family. My parents did meet Rachel once before we all went. Dave and Rachel went to my parents' place. My parents made lasagna, and they said she didn't complain about getting a plate of it from the same pan as my parents and Dave. She ate it and complimented their cooking, so my parents had no idea she had this problem until we were at the restaurant, and she got weird about Steve ordering what she wanted. A commenter, who was downvoted, says, in a week? Well, time is moving fast, but not that fast. It's a little under 2 months away. Opie says, I'm not an American. We don't recognize whatever date American Thanksgiving is. I don't know why you think I'm American, when it's clear to anyone reading my original post that I'm not. Commenter says, I don't get it. Did you ask her why? Opie says we did. We did try asking her, but she never explained. All she said was, it's because someone else already ordered it. Rachel didn't explain further, even when we asked. She was asked at least once before the server got back to finish her taking our orders. For the rest of the dinner, the rest of us, besides Dave, would just change the subject whenever Rachel brought up the mac and cheese because it was super awkward. We just wanted to move on and try to enjoy dinner. Dave won't give us an explanation whenever anyone asks why this caused such a problem. My dad and I both ordered the same thing and there was no problem. I don't know why ordering the same thing as Steve was such a problem for her. Now, the fact that Dave instantly sided with her and demanded apologies makes it even weirder because it means either he knows the real reason or he's been conditioned to treat every bizarre reaction as valid. And I think with that, I'll be definitely asking the brother what the hell is going on here. Because if she's going to be around your family long term, surely you all want to get along well, etc. So you want to find a way that you can understand what is actually going on. I'm not saying, you should order different food than her every single time because that's what she's wanting, but just to understand what is happening in the background, because at the minute, everything's just up in the air. But after 7 months, OP does come in with an update. And they say, it's not a long or exciting story, but the update is that I will no longer go to restaurants if Rachel is going to be there. She doesn't get upset if we're having dinner at someone's home and everyone is eating the same thing. My parents met her once before the incident in my first post, and then says about the lasagna. They made lasagna for dinner and Rachel didn't say a thing about everyone getting a piece of lasagna from the same pan. She ate it without complaining. Rachel only gets weird and upset if we're at a restaurant or getting takeout, not if it's a home-cooked meal at someone's home. At the first incident, the one I mentioned in my first post, Dave was insistent that Steve apologize to Rachel and make amends, even though Steve didn't do anything wrong. Dave always defends Rachel when she acts weird about this. I get that you're supposed to be on the same team as whoever you're dating, but Dave refuses to see that Rachel is in the wrong, and I'm not the only one who is tired of it. The last straw for me was at my cousin's 16th birthday. Rachel got upset because my cousin ordered the meal that she wanted, and she tried to get my cousin to change his mind. My aunt and my uncle were not happy and they really don't like Rachel now. No one knows what her problem is. She just says she doesn't like it when people order the same thing and won't explain more. She even asks other people who ordered the same meal if one of them wants to change their order, like when my dad and I ordered the same thing the first time we met her. At the restaurants where this happens, Canadian Brewhouse, Milestones, etc., everyone gets a separate meal. They're not the kind of places where you order food for the table and share. I don't understand why this bothers her so much, but I just won't go to restaurants if she's there now, because she makes such a big deal about it and you can't even enjoy yourself. I'm not the only one who avoids her either. The top commenter on this one just said, Rachel sounds exhausting. Opie says she is. When Dave first started mentioning her, everyone was happy for him. Steve and I were excited because we both served in the armed forces and found out she did as well, and we thought we'd have lots in common with her. But now all this has soured me on her. Steve can barely stand to be around her after how she and Dave acted. Commenter replied saying she served. Opie says yes, she served in the RCAF. Different branch than either Steve and I were in, but still we thought we'd have lots in common with her. Duck Wedding says, does she try to sample what everyone else ordered? Either way, other people's food orders are not her business. Opie says no. As I mentioned in my post, the restaurants we had gone to are not the kind where everyone orders for the table and shares. Everyone orders their own separate meal and no one would share it, especially with someone they barely know. Commodore says, only thing I can imagine is that it's some kind of OCD, but whatever it is, it's her responsibility to manage. It's absolutely wild that they won't explain and just seem to expect you all to know what a grave sin Steve committed. Out of curiosity, did she react at all to you and your dad eating the same thing at the restaurant? Like keep glancing over or seem uncomfortable or anything? Opie says yes. She asked both of us if we're sure that we didn't want to order something else. Twice. She brought it up multiple times once the food came. She doesn't like it when anyone orders the same meal, even if it's other people. It's so bizarre. Now, I don't know if my comment's going to be a fair one or not on this, because I do agree with the comments in some ways that this is absolutely exhausting and that I would be done with it. But the update did make me feel sad at the same time, just thinking about the whole family dynamic, because it does come across for me anyway, someone with a genuine issue or some kind of compulsion that she can't explain or maybe ashamed to explain or something along those lines. Again, it might not be. It might be completely the other way, right? But the fact that she's perfectly fine eating with everyone, home-cooked meals, but then spirals in a restaurant, there could be a whole host of reasons. I'm not going to try and diagnose. Who knows, right? But it came across as like a fixation that she just can't regulate. And what made it worse for me is Dave handling it in, which felt like the worst way possible, instead of like privately explaining, hey, she has an issue around this, we're working on it. If that's what the case is, he turns every incident into some kind of test, some kind of loyalty test where everyone has to accommodate her without understanding the reason why. And that naturally makes everyone resent her because from their perspective, which I get it, she's just policing everyone's dinner orders like some kind of lunatic. And of course, you know, Rachel's doing herself no favors at the same time by refusing to explain anything at all. And of course, this is all turning into they're stopping going places where she is, they're going to stop inviting her places. And that's the sad part to all this. Now, family members are avoiding being around her, they're avoiding restaurants with her, tensions are growing, and it all just sounds like it's going to have a bad ending. But now, I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you think's going on in this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I Overreacting subreddit from Dead Man's Gun, who says, am I overreacting for thinking my boyfriend is lying about his mum dying? My boyfriend, 22 male, and I, 18 female, met through the restaurant we work at. He got hired as my manager after supposedly moving an hour down here because his mum had been moved to our local hospital due to her cancer and he wanted to be closer to her. He would usually have to leave shifts early to go help her or see her, and no one ever questioned it. He eventually started talking after him telling a couple of co-workers who wanted to get to know me but was nervous about getting into a relationship after his ex-girlfriend stalking him and still being convinced they were together, and with his mum's worsening condition. I told him multiple times I was okay with us taking it slow because his situation was out of his control. Most nights we would either call or we'd go visit his mum in the hospital and stay with her. I never questioned him not answering when he was supposedly visiting her because I understood him wanting to appreciate the time he had left with her. But I did ask him why he only goes to visit her in the evenings and not throughout the day. And he told me it didn't make much of a difference because she's always asleep anyway. The other morning we both had work at the same time and were sitting beside each other at a stoplight by the restaurant, coming from the complete opposite direction of the hospital he said he was at. When I asked him about it, he said he just took the back roads there. Keep in mind it would have been an extra hour and a half to end up coming from that way because she got moved back up to where he was from. And I didn't ask again. That night he told me his ex-girlfriend broke into his apartment, trashed it, and sent her brothers to jump him. He apparently had been drinking and driving on his way there and got arrested for it when the cops were called to the apartment. He told me his friends bailed him out and he would have had to move back to where he grew up and get a new job. Nothing was posted on his docket record from that night, so I asked why I couldn't find anything about it. He said they're just slow at putting it on there, even though they'd have to charge him with something for him to be arrested and bailed out. Last night he texted me that his mum was no longer responsive and he would need some time to get his head on straight and things figured out, and he wouldn't know how long that would take, but he needs space until then. Am I overreacting for thinking he's lying about everything? Absolutely not overreacting, and bail out as soon as you can. There is just way too much chaos going on in this one situation. Some of them could have innocent explanations, but stacking them all together and, you know, the excuses for everything, the back road stuff, the arrest record, they're slow at uploading it. Then there was the ex breaking in, the brothers jumping in, the DUI arrest, the moving away, the dying mother, the need in space. I just like, nah. And I'm not saying it's the case because obviously I don't know, but the mum dying storyline is one that we have seen before in stories on this channel at least a couple of times. So people do use these to be manipulative because it shuts people down instantly, because who's going to question someone who says that, lying about cancer and death? Again, maybe his mother really is sick. Maybe parts of this are true, but I'd bet serious money that at minimum, he's heavily exaggerating a lot of what he's saying, which, is enough red flags for me. A commenter says, do you ever wonder why some people have so many problems and think maybe it's them and not just bad luck? It's him or he's full of it. Not overreacting. Commenter says, not overreacting. Even if it's the truth, why do you want to be with this man? Drinking and driving is a hard no for me. Only date people who care if they live and care enough about human life not to endanger others by drunk driving. Also, he's lying to you. Both says not overreacting. You're young and he's a little older, so I'd keep your distance until you have a better understanding of him. It sure sounds like he has way too much drama going on. Maybe a pathological liar, and possibly has another girlfriend. If you two aren't official yet, I'd hold off on that. Or take the safest route and just tell him it's not working out. Edit, please be careful and safe. So Opie came in with an update and says, so I asked some of our co-workers about him, and one of them told me he has made multiple sexual comments about both me and my underage best friend who also works with us. Another co-worker told me his ex-girlfriend's name, since she apparently used to call him all the time when he would go out to the bar with him. I looked her up on Facebook, and her profile and cover photo were both with him. I also looked up his mum's profile and saw posts from her after she was supposedly unresponsive, and nothing on her page mentioned the hospital or being sick, even though that's where he told me she has been staying for the last 3 months. I feel like an idiot not looking into things earlier, but he's blocked. I just hope he doesn't say anything else at work. A commenter says to OP, you're not even a little bit tempted to post on his mum's Facebook page that you're his new girlfriend and you're so glad she recovered from her terminal cancer and you can't wait to meet her. You're smart to just move on, lol. I'd make a big old mess. OP says, if he didn't know where I lived, I would in a heartbeat. And there was a couple of comments telling OP to just go public with this as well, but I don't blame OP for just stepping back and trying to separate from this guy completely, because that is some wildly unhinged arsehole behavior right there. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day.